I'm pretty sure, for the most part, you haven't seen The Artist. And if you have, you probably saw it around the time it came out. What about Spotlight? Argo? The King's Speech? Green Book? Probably a bit more likely. But there's just something strange about Best Picture winners of the last decade. Who gives up about them now? Don't get me wrong, some of them are very powerful and important movies. And in the coming years we'll look back on most of them fondly and celebrate them. But The Artist... See, I liked The Artist when it came out. It's a film that celebrates Hollywood and the craft of making movies, from back to the heyday of cinema, and it plays with the concept of sound, or lack thereof, in such an original way. They just don't make movies like this. It's just crazy that a black and white movie set during a turning point in history can be made nowadays, with an award-winning score that recalls an earlier time period with fond nostalgia, and flaunts an acting performance rightly rewarded that by no means will be the last thing you'll ever see them in. For all intents and purposes,
Michel Hazanavicius
created his true love letter to cinema. The Artist is such an interesting project to come from him, having just come off 2 back-to-back spy movies in an established franchise. Clearly those films allowed him to make his passion project. And The Artist is an achievement. It's by no means what we would call the Oscar bait that year, so we didn't really get the whiplash of a La La Land Moonlight mistake. The Artist was just a solid movie that year. The most solid and safe movie, maybe ever. It's the epitome of charming and pandering that went up against the Steven Spielberg war movie and won, somehow. Best Picture is such a curious beast. It's a battle not always equality, but a strong campaign. Probably the most infamous, Crash, won Best Picture back in 2005, but everyone knows that definitely wasn't Best Picture. I love award shows. I'll stay up and watch the Oscars because I'm a sucker for musical numbers, awkward jokes, and the hope that John Travolta will say Adele Dazeem one more time. What I don't understand is that every year a bunch of movies people have been constantly talking about, in an instant fade into obscurity, while some will forever be ingrained in your mind. And those that stay are very rarely the actual winners. People love Mad Max Fury Road, La La Land, Get Out, Django Unchained, Social Network, all nominated for Best Picture but all lost. They're the true films that stand head and shoulders above your mediocre films, but don't quite get the Best Picture appreciation. It's just fascinating to me that you can call a film Best Picture and then completely forget it even exists. The Artist is the most special case in recent memory. It's a film that has everything and suffers because it has everything. Hollywood just loves itself too much. The Artist winning Best Picture is the best example of that. If only you went the furthest out of Hollywood to choose Best Picture, like Parasite. We're entering into this new decade of cinema in the most exciting way. Bong Joon-ho's Parasite is happily an outlier in the world of Best Picture winners, and a sign that more change will hopefully come. It's the first foreign language film to win Best Picture, and it also won Best Director, Original Screenplay, and International Feature Film while it was at it. Parasite is without pretentiousness, without pandering. It takes risks and it transcends genre and it holds your attention throughout. It harkens back to Hitchcock and it tackles social issues without being on the nose about it. It's dark, it's funny, it's violent, it shocks, it delights. It's the least safe Oscar winner in the grand scheme of things, and I applaud that. But CJ, I hear no one say, what about films like Shape of Water? Okay, fine. Del Toro is a genius, but for every Shape of Water there was a Spotlight. Seriously, Spotlight won Best Picture. Very important story, sure, but this says it all. I want Parasite to be the true beginning of a new era. I want to get away from films you forget even existing. Like, remember The Big Short? It was like Vice, but I can't even remember what it was about. Now that we know that anything can happen, I'm optimistic about the next time the Oscars come around. And maybe, just maybe, they'll nominate a woman for Best Director again. I can at least dream.
I'm deadly serious.